Hello nerds! Thank you once again for watching Generally Nerdy. This is your Week in Nerdom Music Edition for the week of February 5th, 2018. This week in music, we're going to talk a little bit about the Grammys, which happened last week, I know, but they were happening while I was filming, so we couldn't really talk about them. And the categories we care about on this channel weren't really televised, so there is that as well. Killswitch Engage, former frontman Howard Jones, his new band is putting out new music. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Kendrick Lamar releasing the first single off of the Black Panther soundtrack, and we have other stuff that's going on, but first we gotta hit some intros.
Quiet on the set, rolling.
Hi, I am Bitsy Telek.
Hey, I'm Hale Appleman.
I'm Walter Kane.
I'm Rene Aubergenois. Odo on Deep Space Nine.
Michael Dorn, Lieutenant Commander Worf, Star Trek The Next Generation.
Come and see me and hear me and talk to me and listen to me talk about myself.
Hey man, this is Kevin Smith, often considered generally nerdy, and you are listening to what is often considered generally nerdy.
On Generally Nerdy.
You're listening to
Generally Nerdy.
Generally Nerdy.
Generally Nerdy.
Before we start this news episode, we have to get an announcement out of the way, and I'm super excited about this announcement. We got our first $5 patron over on Patreon. For those of you that don't know, patreon.com/generallynerdy is where you can go to get all of the things early. You can get some exclusive stuff. Whatever you want, there's different tiers. You can jump on for $1, you get all the early stuff. You can jump on for $2, you get some of my stories that I write. Jump on for $5 like Marty did. Thank you very much, Marty. And you get you contribute to the episodes weekly. So this is the portion of the video where we would do that. Should he have submitted something to discuss, this is where it would go. So there's that. There's the notes for books, there's all kinds of stuff at the $5 level, and then there's $10 level where you get the actual books, not just the notes about the books. Anyway, so again, thank you very much to Marty. Your $5 is very welcome. And let's get into the news. So, the Grammys happened, and interesting. It was interesting. The performances, I haven't been super big fan of what's been going on in popular music really recently. So yeah, I watched them a couple days later, but I still watched them and just was like, meh. I was editing last week's episodes while I was watching them, so there you go. But some notable winners, and these are ones that were not televised because apparently rock and roll and metal is not popular. Even though, as we discussed before, metal is the largest genre in the world. It is the most popular genre in the world. So why, I cannot understand why we dismiss it so easily in this country. Anyway, best rock performance went to Leonard Cohen, You Want It Darker, so posthumous win for him. Best metal performance went to Mastodon for Sultan's Curse. It's about time those guys actually won. I think this is their third nomination and their first time winning. Best rock song went to the Foo Fighters, because anytime the Foo Fighters are nominated, they're probably gonna win. Best rock album went to a band called The War on Drugs for an album called A Deeper Understanding, which I have never heard of, either the band or the song. I didn't bother to go look it up either, because a band called The War on Drugs just doesn't sound like something I would listen to. And then other notable that was not announced on the telecast, but is common knowledge by this point, is Best Spoken Word Album went to Carrie Fisher for her Princess Diarist book. So congratulations to all the winners. About freaking time Mastodon took home a metal Grammy. I think they were up for rock performance as well, and it went to Leonard Cohen, which is kind of foreseeable. But kind of spinning off from the Grammys, the actual broadcast, one of the guitar players from Of Mice and Men tweeted that since Code Orange was, I'm trying to remember this because I didn't copy it to my notes. He said something along the lines of, if Code Orange is nominated for a Grammy, then we should nominate Norma Jean for a Grammy. To which some people went, all right, well, Code Orange kinda sounds like Norma Jean. To me, it was like, no, Norma Jean was bad. Code Orange is awesome. Anyway, but Code Orange apparently took that as the cats from Of Mice and Men are thinking that Code Orange steal their sound from Norma Jean, and so they responded to fuck off, quote unquote, not my words, so pardon me for the F, but just kind of sprouted this whole thing, and I don't see the comparison, because Norma Jean was part of that southern metal thing that happened with the Christian metal thing that happened right around the early aughts, early to late aughts, anyway. I mean, middle to late aughts. Oh boy, words are not a thing. So, yeah, just an interesting feud that has apparently sprung up, and I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think that Code Orange sounds like Norma Jean? Because I really don't hear the comparison. Do you think that their reaction was warranted, or was it just the guys from Of Mice and Men going, you know, Norma Jean was never nominated back in the day, so let's kind of give props to where this sound comes from. Even though, again, to my ears, I don't see how the two are related. But we're moving on. Next is for a band called Light the Torch. Now, many of you probably have never heard of this band, Light the Torch, because they're a new band, kinda. Not really new. They used to be called The Devil You Know, and you probably have heard of the Devil You Know if you're into the metal scene. Metalcore is kind of where they came from. The lead singer for the band that now calls themselves Light the Torch is a man called Howard Jones. Howard used to sing for Killswitch Engage. He left Killswitch Engage because he has type 2 diabetes and was having issues dealing with that and their touring schedule, and he was having health problems. So he had to leave the band for his health. So I would imagine Light the Torch is going to do minimal touring because that was the biggest thing. Anyway, they're doing a new album. They have 2 albums under the name Devil You Know, and those 2 albums are called Destruction and They Bleed Red, and they are good albums. They are very, very good albums. They had to change the name to Light the Torch because their original drummer left, and apparently he had some claim to the name, so it was a legal issue, and so to kind of circumvent that, they just changed their name. And this new album is called Revival. It will be out March 30th. They just released, link in the description, their first single and a video for that single. Video's kind of lame, I'm not gonna lie, but the song for the video is really good. Howard is kind of switching gears a little bit with this band. He's less, at least for this album, I feel like the transition has been happening over the last 2 albums, and in this album it's very different from what he was doing in Killswitch, in that there is a lot less of the harsh scream vocal and a lot more of his amazing singing. There were two probably 8 bar sections, no, 2 2-bar sections, so it was an 8 count, where he actually had a screamed vocal. The rest of the song, which is, you know, 4 minutes plus, was him singing, and he has an incredible voice. I will forever maintain that Howard Jones has probably the best voice in metal. The lyrical content of the song is a little bit more along the lines of when he first joined Killswitch. It's more of the covert Christian stuff. It's not bad. I really, really enjoy Howard's lyrics, but towards the end of his gig with Killswitch, it became something different. They still write lyrics that are kind of covert Christian lyrics. They're really, like, if you pay attention, they're songs about God. But again, towards the last record, roughly record and a half of Killswitch, Howard wasn't singing about God as much as he was just singing about his problems and girls and things, is what it seemed like. So very cool, very, very, very good record once it launches on March 30th. Definitely check it out. But that's the end of that. We're kicking on over to something not metal related, and that is Black Panther soundtrack. The Black Panther soundtrack is being done by Kendrick Lamar. We haven't really talked about it yet because we haven't had music to talk about. But they released their first single. Not a video yet, but definitely audio will be linked in the description. And it features The Weeknd. It's a song called Pray For Me. The album will be out February 9th, so that will be later this week. So Thursday, I believe that is. And oh god, I listened to it. That's where I was going. I listened to it. It's good. It's not the best thing I've heard from either Kendrick Lamar or The Weeknd, but it is Kendrick Lamar and The Weeknd, so you can kind of imagine how good just that combination will be inherently. And it's better than just if they were just phoning it in, because even stuff phoned in from these two is going to be better than most pop music. But this is a solid song, definitely worth a listen. Interested to hear the rest of the Black Panther soundtrack now that I have heard this first single. But that being said, we're kicking on over to some alternative rock. We talked a couple weeks ago about the Smashing Pumpkins and how somebody snapped a shot of... Oh, and I wrote down the drummer's name this time. Somebody snapped a shot of Jimmy Chamberlain with Billy Corgan and the other guitarist, James Iha. They were sitting in the studio talking, and Corgan was excited about it, and they were saying there's no definite that we're gonna do music together or anything. This is just us being friends, and now they're doing music together. Apparently, they're in the studio working with Rick Rubin. Billy Corgan has a big long post on his Instagram. And yeah, it's 3 out of the 4 original members. Darcy, as I was about to go to film this, Darcy I read was less than happy about the fact, because I'm trying to infer intention behind text, so I don't know exactly. What she said was that she didn't know about it until Billy put it up on his Instagram. So she says she wasn't invited, though that kind of goes against what Billy Corgan said when we talked about this initially, when he said that he's mended fences with Darcy. So, I mean, it's kind of a he said, she said kind of situation, but I am very interested to see what comes out of the mesh of Corgan and Iha one more time, because that is what made the Smashing Pumpkins so great, was those two minds together. And then our last bit of news, it's a little bit of a throwaway bit, but still worth mentioning. The Spice Girls announced that they're going to be doing a reunion tour this year. Yay. I don't know that the pop world needs this. I feel like it's such a saturated market right now that this is not... They're riding the nostalgia thing, so I don't know that it's going to be a huge deal once the tour actually starts. People are just excited to see them together again for some reason, because girl power, I guess, is like the narrative of our culture these days. So the group who rode that back in the 90s is now going to ride it in the teens. So whatever. Yeah, it was a thing. And we have to at least acknowledge it's happening. But that is where we're going to end this week's music episode. What did I forget? What should we talk about next week? Let me know in the comments down low. If you want to go deeper into the conversation, jump over to the website, generallynerdy.net. You can get all the freebies, all the blog posts, and all the social media links up there. If you want to contribute, if you want to help this channel grow, then jump over to patreon.com/generallynerdy. You can jump on for just $1 a month. If you're new to the channel, click the subscribe button. If you like this episode, click the like button. If you're listening on audio, leave me a review. If you are falling behind on your nerd news and you want to catch up, click or tap right there to the left of my face if you're watching me on YouTube. But before you leave, always remember that if it's generally nerdy, it's probably here.